How does that, M? Can you hear me now? Awesome. So let's start with a little meditation just to dial in. Just closing down the eyes. Inhalation, exhalation. Inhalation, exhalation. And just really turning off from what's going on in your inner world and just tuning in deeper to that space within you that's in that constant state of relaxation. So you can inhale again and exhale. And just tuning into your inner reality. How's it feeling on the inside? What energies are you feeling or you're witnessing in your inner reality? Are you experiencing the exuberance of the Leo energy? Are you feeling the tranquil Sunday feels? How are you feeling inside yourself? I just want to speak the word lion. And as that word is spoken, or even internally speak that word, and just connect to what comes up for you. What does that word represent to you? What archetypal energy does that bring forth? Just witness that word within yourself. Lion. Or even the Lion of Judea. What does that bring forth for you? Just witness that energy inside yourself. There is so much information that is encoded into our psyche. And as we go about life and receive the occurrences and the unfoldments, we learn more and more about these archetypal codexes and these deep cellular use the word matrices, or these deep inner truths that lie within us, abide within us is probably a better word. And when you're ready, you are more than welcome to open your eyes. Just going to turn on this music. So, just want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for taking your sacred time to be here with me today. I really am inspired to share this with you. Just to share that it really came in probably Wednesday, Thursday. It's this imprint in meditation came forth and it was like the Lion of Judea, the Lion of Judea. I was like, okay, wow, what's the Lion of Judea? And as I sat more and as the day progressed, just as it does in the magic, things were coming forth, and the next thing I'm downloading this presentation, and then it was clear that I had to share it. So yeah, this is where I am, and a few late nights have been spent to bring this information forth, and I hope it's very fruitful for you and you receive some deep codes and transformations and some deep knowings are unlocked. So the Lion of Judea, let's begin. So what we'll be covering, kind of the flow of this presentation, and I really want to keep it more in that fluidic state. And we're going to start just overviewing what the Lion's Gate is and what that represents. And then we're going to go into the exploration of the archetype of the lion and then explore the law and symbology and how that kind of links to an imploration or a involution or a inner, how we take in the archetypal information inside of ourselves and if there are any inner stories that represents. And then we're going to move through the king codes and the inner sacred marriage, and then the relevance of this lion energy during these times, or the lion kings as you'll get to. And then we're just going to end with anything that wants to come through and transmit. So a beautiful quote: a lion sleeps in the heart of every brave man or woman. So it's speaking to this inner lion that's within us all, and it really represents that divine masculine that is in all beings, no matter if you're a woman, man, or how you identify. We have these energies within ourselves, masculine, feminine. Now, you hear a lot in the New Age about the Lion's Gate and the energies of the Lion's Gate. And yeah, for me, absolutely, I am feeling this exuberance of lion energy that's rising within me. But also, I am also feeling the, let's say, as it shares here, this alignment with the Sirius constellation and the Orion constellation. And Orion is the hunter and represents also death and rebirth, and Sirius is our spiritual sun. And there's a lot of lore and stories about the great masters that come from Sirius that then transition down to Venus, and then they make their way here to Earth. And it's part of their, let's say, training, because they step down vibrational frequencies and experience how that feels within their beings. And in those higher realms, obviously, there are let's say, different energetic circumstances or vibration or spin ratios, how we want to say it. But this alignment of the Sun, Sirius, and Orion just really opens this powerful energetic field. And also in the ancient Egyptian law and many laws, and I mean laws as L-O-R-E, not L-A-W, they speak about how whenever we're in alignment or there is the Sirius behind our sun, it allows this very subtle light to come into Earth, and it really breathes life into our spiritual bodies. And this is just a illustration of that beautiful star Sirius, who, yeah, I feel it very, when I connect to Sirius, it's like when I go into my inner realms, I just see Sirius, the third eye. It's just that really powerful, potent truth. And it also maps externally with what we say about the star of Sirius, and many pyramids and things being aligned to it. And obviously, there's a lot in the New Age about numerology, 8-8. I definitely connect with the number 8 being this very abundant kind of imprint, wealth, and prosperity. And they speak about in numerology, when you have double eights, it double magnifies the energy. So just wanted to share that. And obviously the 8 has that type of imprint as well of the infinity loop, which is beautiful. So that's the Lion's Gate, kind of the feels there. And I'm interested as well as how you're experiencing the Lion's Gate too. They say tomorrow is the height of the energy, and it starts on like the 6th and it goes to the 12th of August. And it's like during this time, you can really utilize this energy to create different timelines for yourself or break through certain deep unconscious patternings and really utilize this energy for your own growth and transformation. So I just want to speak a little bit, about the influence of the lion. We see probably one of the most famous structures in Egypt. The sphinxes are a depiction of the lions in the Egyptian culture. And then in the human consciousness, since the dawn of mankind, we've had, even in our Neolithic cave walls, we've had the symbology of the lion. And usually it's interpreted as power, strength, nobility, and bravery. And these are some of the archetypal energies that it might represent for you as you delve deeper into your inner reality. And this is just a beautiful picture of that very potent portal. And I can't remember exactly, but this also, the constellation of this pyramid is connected to Orion as well, from memory. I'm not the biggest on the astrology side of things. So I just want to bring through this principle as well as we dive through this journey. And I think it's more of a contemplation. And I think the way that the slides have come together, it's kind of like this slow unpacking, moving towards something, moving towards a truth. And it's like each slide complements a certain journey or inner journey. So I think this principle is important, and that there's this pathway of this mysterious current of evolution and its counterpart, involution. And these currents flow deep beneath our conscious awareness. They may be captured through our resonance of myths, archetypes, poetry, music, dreams. And this is kind of the journey here that we're going to go through, is we're going to explore these archetypal energies and poetries and quote and things that we might resonate with, but what they're really doing, they're an external thing, but they're calibrating somewhere within us, in our inner reality of, this means something to me. This is something deep within my soul. This is something that resonates. And I don't always know why it resonates, but there's something there. And then on that resonance point, there's something that begins to build, something that you contemplate on. And then there will be a point where it comes in and you're like, wow, this is huge. This is big for my journey. What does this mean? Thanks, Em, for confirming. We have Em on board. She's our galactic, let's say, she knows a lot of these things. So thank you for confirming about Egypt. So yes, these concepts, as we move through this journey in this presentation. So let's explore the archetype, or the virtues of the lion, and the roar of truth. Now, I have not witnessed a lion's roar. If you have as well, please share with me. But they speak about that it's like this incredible moment of this sound frequency that just embeds with you for life. That you just remember that sound of the lion roar. And sometimes that lion's roar is coming from a deeper level than just the vocal level or the sound level. It's really this roar of the heart. It's a roar of power. And this is a very powerful archetypal frequency, because when you allow your spirit to roar, it is a very powerful energy that conquers all obstacles, and you really go into that state of succeeding your heart's desires. And this roar is a really organic roar. It's not something that you can just scream out. It's something that is something that unleashes within yourself. It's not something that can be acted or played or anything like that. It's just purely a transmission of something that has moved inside of you. And I think this is a very powerful energy at the moment for us to speak our truths and allow our spiritual voice to be heard. And in that, we can cast away the darkness, and we can really live our purpose and speak our truth that's being that wants to be brought forth in this time that we're currently abiding in, where there is just so much misinformation and just, yeah, it's a difficult time for us sometimes, especially with the external world and what's going on, to access that raw of truth. What is our inner truth? Another beautiful attribute of the lions is I created this thing the other day called they lead front in, and what it means by front in is that yes, they lead from the front, but it comes from within themselves. So it's leading from the heart's wisdom, and sometimes it's tricky with the heart's wisdom because the mind wants to know the next steps, right? It wants to know, how do we navigate through this? However, many of the times the wisdom, if you trust in your heart, the wisdom will arrive in the moment, or they call it in accurate response in the Zen tradition. It's just like you have to have this kind of this type of inner resilience that you don't need to know the next step. However, when the situation arises, the leadership will come forth. And then you can really come from your heart rather than your mind. And I think strong leadership is something, leading front in is something that's so important these days to change the face of the world. This is another beautiful quote from Osho. The greatest fear in the world is the opinions of others. And the moment you are unafraid of the crowd, you are no longer a sheep, you become a lion. A great roar arises in your heart, the roar of freedom. And that's what I was speaking about before, that you can't practice this roar. It has to happen spontaneously as an inner realization occurs or something unlocks within your being and your psyche. The sword of discernment, or Excalibur. Now, this is another quality of the lion, and for me, it's the ability to protect and defend what is worthy. And it's not about dominating, but moving powerfully amongst it from a position of inner spiritual connection. I think that's the key to discernment. Again, is that connection to your heart, knowing what is your truth, and then wielding that sort of discernment. And sometimes you have to cut things out of your life, or you have to cut through the bullshit or whatever, but it's just knowing, wielding that sword so strongly, because that sword is an extension of your heart. Courage and boldness, you see always heroic, courageous acts from lions, and they really don't attract circumstances, that they really hold their energetic field so powerfully that they create their reality so precisely. And I know from my experience, often sometimes when I've held fear in my field, I've attracted certain experiences, but the lion is so decisive with its truth that it creates that reality because there's no fear in the system. And I think this is something that's so powerful about the lion energy, is that you don't fear anymore. And that comes from a deep inner faith with God, that you're always protected. And I love this thing from, I think it came from Brené Brown. She said that the root for courage is core, which is the Latin word for the heart. So you can see that courage, true courage, can only come from the heart. So that's a beautiful little segue. I think this was this wasn't a Turkish proverb, I have to fix that, but this was from someone, just the power of leadership. I'm more afraid of an army of 100 sheep led by a lion than an army of 100 lions led by a sheep. So it's just talking about truly when there is that, and you can use the example of maybe who we'll talk about soon, King Leonidas, for example. He only had 300 men at this great battle, and he's led his men with such power and such courage that it's like they are the leaders. You set vibrational frequency for the people that are following you. So if you are holding that frequency, then it's like it creates that frequency for everyone else in that synarchy, in that circle. So that's why sometimes, and this is what I speak about later, is that, back, let's say in Atlantis and Morya, or even in the higher realms now, spiritual authority is given through vibrational frequency. That's how it's organized. Whereas in our current reality, authority is gained usually by unnoble acts. And this was the fall of the lion codes, is when we lost nobility and valor. That was the big fall. And then we did these, there's these sayings in the modern world, fake it till you make it, or, do whatever it takes. And often we take that into like very unnoble grounds to do what, to conquer and get the higher position or the highest job or whatever it is. It's just like we've lost this nobility. And that's the power of leadership as well. When someone's holding that frequency of the lion, especially in a synarchy as well, it just ripples out and everyone feels it. So obviously there's the raw power and strength of the lion energy that resides us. And this is really, for me, that Shiva energy as well, when that masculine energy can really move through us, through our heart, and ripple out. It's a very powerful energy, but at the same time, the moment that it loses purity, it can then be siphoned in, and there's other things that can happen. But that's why, this, again, there's this code within the lion heart. The lion, it's always anchored in its heart. And this is a beautiful thing as well. Lions actually rest from 20 hours up to 20 hours a day. And when they need to act, they do. And I love that. That's like the Wu Wei, as they speak about in the Taoist tradition, is the sage acts by doing nothing. And what that truly means is they're in just a state of rest or meditation, or what do you want to call it, and then they will act when an impulse from the Godhead or the impulse from within them will come forth. And this is how they say, again, in the Zen tradition about accurate response, is that when you're in that state, when you're in that state of connection, you will always know the accurate response to every situation. And it's not like from the mind, it's because you're plugged in to your higher self or whatever that is. And I love this because this is also a feminine quality within the masculine here. So it's a beautiful kind of feminine masculine balance that's it's reflecting too. Lions have to use both patience and stealth to catch their prey. Or their prey, I think it's a pun as well. They are one of the most meticulous animals in the wild. Let's learn from their patience, which will help us to achieve different goals in life. And that's, again, like that patience is the rest as well. If you can be patient in life, you will, because I think we're just so programmed these days, is that instant gratification. We're always reaching for something. We're always going for something. And it's like, I love this Taoist quote that is, nature does not rush, yet everything is accomplished. And that's the energy of patience. And then obviously justice and protection. There's a lot of sigils and symbology, especially in England and other places in Europe. They use the lion as a symbolic, as justice and protection. And the true lions in the nature, but also in our history, they have the ones that really, for me, hold that energy, that they are very, they protect their people, they love their people, and they will die for their people. Not to say that they're a martyr, but they have that conviction within themselves that they love those that have chosen willingly to follow them. And then obviously the royalty and the supreme authority, there's also this connection within our archetype, and also in that archetype that lions represent this authority. And you'll see as we go deeper that there's a lot of connection to God through the lion. And many beings with that spiritual connection that hold that. So we're going to move into some lore and symbology now. we've gone the archetype, so that information that you've taken in. Now let's delve into some of the law and symbology that reflects these kind of things. I think the best place to start for me is Nania. I think Nania was a very powerful movie and inspired a lot of beings. So I'm just drinking some Taoist tea, so I'm just take this moment to. And Nania was very experiences. Em loves young Nania, of course she does. Yeah, Nania was a beautiful movie. And I think there was a deep code, and I think even C.S. Lewis spoke to this, is Aslan, who is as we can see here, who was revered as the god, but the son of a much greater god, the emperor of the sea, was really a imprint of Jesus, Yeshua, Christ, in another reality. And as it says below, he is a shape through which God has chosen to reveal himself to the Narnians. And you can see these parallels often in the resurrection that happened, and the resurrection being witnessed by a feminine presence. And then sometimes you see him as a form of a lamb, which is also in the Bible. So this connection, I think it represents something deeper. And even in the last scene of the last movie, he says, "In your world, I have another name. You must learn to know me by it." But I think it's not just a Jesus or Christ, as we'll go deeper, but it's a representation of maybe the incarnation of God in man, more to delve deeper. And I just love this quote from Aslan, and he speaks about the deep magic, and he talks about that the witch didn't get to the source of the magic, and then he says, "Into the stillness, the darkness before the time dawned, she would have read a different incarnation." And I think this is really powerful because it represents a state of consciousness that is able to delve into a space before creation actually, before the form comes to form. And like that direct connection, which again speaks to before about the patience and the stillness. And it's a very deep, I don't think it's something you can be learned. It's something that you access. And I haven't said I have accessed that either, but I've studied a lot of the, let's say, the sages from East, West, the Rumi, all of them speak about this space. In the stillness, the darkness before the time dawned. And this is like a space before there's even the mental interpretation. And that's where, like for this is where the witch didn't realize that she interpreted it before the true meaning. And I think this is such a big thing these days, and I'm not going to go too much into it, is how we have interpreted the scriptures or how we interpreted things, because we're interpreting it very much from a logical space, where a lot of this stuff is not logical at all and can only be truly contemplated upon, and what its true meaning is, more than a tangible external interpretation, is a deeper truth. And I love this line, the table symbolic of the vow taught in the temple after Christ gave up his spirit would crack and death itself would start turning backwards. And that was a moment of resurrection. And this is a beautiful quote which speaks to later when we go into King Arthur, is once a king or queen of Narnia, always a king or queen of Narnia. May your wisdom and grace until the stars rain down from the heavens. And just remember that as we go forth. So the Lion King movie, I just wanted to breathe this in because we do have, especially those that have grown up in, the 1900s, or the that's probably not the right word, but 1991 to the latest generation. Well, not the latest generation, but you know what I mean. So I think this definitely has had a archetypal, or even an influence on our psyche, and on some level it has for me. And I know many of my brothers, my sisters, many people that speak to the Lion King. And there was some deep downloads in that movie, and a lot of it was actually based on the Zulu tradition. And there was a being called Ino Yama. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but that's what the basis of the Lion King was based upon. The stories from the Zulu tradition, and Ino Yama was the ancient king. And obviously there's some beautiful transmissions in this movie as well. And I just love this one, which really speaks to what we've been speaking about. I'm only brave when I have to be. Being brave doesn't mean you go out looking for trouble. And that just speaks to as well that, again, bravery arises from that space of the heart. King Arthur. Now, King Arthur, again, there's a lot of this connection to Christ as well with King Arthur or Jesus or whatever you want to call Yeshua. Obviously, King Arthur had the round table of 12. Obviously, there is a lot of lore about his nobility, and he was actually a very humble being as well. And he led from his heart, and he wasn't so, let's say, he wasn't such in that patriarchal mindset that maybe his ancestors were. He was definitely more open, and he revered the feminine too, had a deep connection, respect for the feminine principle. He guarded the inner teachings of Camelot. And I think a lot, this is my interpretation of Camelot was really a mystery school of the inner, for some deep inner realizations and some deep inner, let's say, well, it had a lot of texts that were passed through, let's say, texts from Alexandria, texts from Egypt, so it was almost like a school of internal knowledge. And I think this is an important moment. If you study the King Arthur lore, King Arthur had a dream of a lion in water, and he went to Merlin in order for this to be interpreted. And the dream, what it represented, and when they went deeper into an archetypal level, and this is the power of dream work, if you're ever called to it, there's actually always generally an archetypal type of transmission underneath it, if you can delve through the images and what they're representing based on your own psyche. And I mean your psyche that's been formed through your soul, type of your soul, the outplay of your soul, and obviously as well in the symbology and projections that we've taken in on being here on Earth. There's always a deep, let's say, it's your higher self sending images to you during time to show you something about your unconscious, or to show you something about your deep inner psyche. So in this dream, the interpretation of the lion representing God, and he was speaking to that the lion being the king of beasts, and so is God is in the king of all things. And this is where I feel that Arthur connected to this archetype of the lion, and you'll see what I'm talking about later. And then we have the once and future king. So this is a beautiful statement, because once and future is, for me, represents that you're always a king. And the once and future, at some point, you realize maybe that what is once and what is future. So this is Jesus, the Lion of Judea. So we can, as we explored, there's many archetypes from the lion that you can kind of see through Jesus as well. Just many moments of him having this kind of spontaneous courage to do such great things, and even his journey with the cross just showed his bravery and his strength and his faith. And even though he already knew that all this was happening, he still did it anyway. And that just shows it anyway, that how deep his faith and his connection to the provider of strength, which is truly, for a being like that, is strength and bravery come through one's connection
to whatever that being is for you. It can be God, it can be Allah, it can be Tao, Brahman. So I love this quote as well. Jesus led by looking at the heart of leaders and calling out those who said they love God, but their behavior confirmed that they really love themselves. And I feel that this is beginning of not the beginning, but it's, that kind of turn in history when the ego started to gain power within the heart of men and women as well. Now, there's some interesting Bible verses, and I'm not going to go too much into the translation of them, but there's one that speaks to the one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has triumphed. He is able to open the scroll and its 7 seals." And I think you can interpret the open the scroll and its 7 seals. I think there's a deep transmission there about the 7 seals being the 7 chakras, and this, boom, Am's got it. Yes, and the scroll is actually a deep, the scroll of Thoth as well. So there's some deep coding in that, but I think that's, we're on the same one here. So Jesus is a descendant of Judah, which was also included David, Solomon, Abraham, and it all goes all the way through to Joseph, which was Jesus' earthly father. And then this quote as well, I think it's a deep one, but I'm not going to go too much in it, but just talks about the Lion of the tribe of Judah, points to the conquering victorious king that would descend from Judah's lineage. And maybe that is kind of connecting to Jesus. And this is the Lion of Judah, and kind of where this kind of, let's say, because that phrase, when I say the Lion of Judah, there's something within me that it invokes. And this was just another interesting reflection is just the characteristics of the lion. The lion covers its tracks with its tail to evade hunters, just as the Christ hid his divine nature from those who did not believe in him. And then the resurrection, this is interesting. Lion cubs are born dead and are guarded by their mothers for 3 days, after which their fathers breathe on them and they wake up. And that's like the breath of life. And again, you can go in deeply, the breath, especially in the yogic tradition, others, the breath of life. That can be a whole thing you can go and contemplate on. This resurrection after 3 days of death then mirrors Christ's resurrection. So there is this, again, connection to this story of resurrection. And funny because, also the Lion's Gate is connected to Orion, which is the hunter, which is also death and resurrection. So that's just something that came here. But there's one other thing I didn't put in this is, I think this is not connected, but it's just coming through now, is just that lions, well, especially in the days of, in maybe the days of Christ and around that time, lions would always, I don't want to use the word submit, and I'm talking about the animals here. They would submit to nobility. There was like this peace within them. And there's many stories of this, especially in the Bible, of Jacob and other things, where a lion's raw power would be humbled at a point when it could sense nobility. And I think this is the key, and we'll go into this later. The fall of the kind of divine masculinity is when we lost nobility on some level. And it's like, even on the battlefields and things like that, the stories that you see, there was a point when nobility was thrown out the window. And then one of the great moments for me was in our history is when they went to conquer Troy. And, Troy was like the last standing, back in those days, the last standing of holding up the noble kind of codes, this respect for life and just something that comes from the heart. Nobility is a quality that really arises from the heart, and this is so important for men to connect to, I feel. And we just see so much these days of, yeah, like I said before, we've lost this nobility and the valor that really represents the king and the lion energy. So I just want to take a sacred pause. Just a sacred pause. Just like how has the things we've explored so far, how's it been feeling within your inner reality? Has there been some things coming up? Has there been some transmissions coming through? Is it like invoking a certain energy? And you just take a pause just to feel that. Okay. I'm going to continue. So King Leonidas. So Leonidas again is a, if you study the etymology of the word Leonidas, it actually, there's many translations, but it's either son of a lion or a lion incarnate. It's a very, it's a name given to, definitely to a being that holds that frequency of the lion. Now, Leonidas was definitely in a time in Greece. It was a very potent time in the Grecian codes. There's a lot there, a lot of deep wisdom and knowledge coming from that civilization. And obviously, this was part of the times when, I guess, the corruption was coming in. Leonidas was very much, let's say, he couldn't rely on his senators anymore. Even the top of the mountain, the oracles had been, let's say, the patriarch had started to come in and the oracles were being abused, and also the beings that were holding that kind of energy, they were, or the beings that were using the oracles had also been corrupted through gold and other things. And so it was a very challenging time. He wasn't king for too long, but he had this very powerful presence, and he loved his people. He led from his heart. He was, let's say, I think he was walking that line of boldness, and but it was a very tough time in Greece, and I think there he definitely held some very powerful spiritual energy, and he was, freedom was his teaching, and he would do anything for freedom, to hold freedom. And this was that time again where the Persian Empire and other things, where they were really just going into a domination, and they had lost their nobility and their valor. Like for King Leonidas, he was happy with his Sparta. He was happy in there. He didn't want to conquer anything else. What else was there to conquer? He had a very fruitful life. He had a beautiful wife. He was a happy man. But this is when ambition gets in, and the ego, always wanting more, conquering more. And the Persians had already started to come through and tempt a lot of the Grecian and fear. And he was like, no, I would rather die than give my freedom over to this crazy patriarch, or this crazy, let's say, man that was just full of greed and wanting to conquer and pillage and all of this. So he stood on the battleground with his 300 men for a very powerful cause. And I feel that what he did echoed in eternity. And what I mean is, on some level inside us, he is holding this frequency of freedom. What he did on the battlefield with his 300 men that day influenced the human psyche. And I feel that this is a very powerful code today. I actually did a video the other day on, I'll share it soon. I did let's say a play on, imagine if the system came to King Leonidas' door today, what would he say to them? You know, like you have to get injected and things like that. You know, this is the power of freedom, and he is standing for freedom. And now we're in this time in the world where more and more subtly our freedoms are being taken away. So I always call King Leonidas. I call on King Leonidas and ask, brother, I call upon your strength. And I know where King Leonidas received his strength and his bravery from. He was very connected. So he stands for freedom. So this is just this quote was from the movie, no retreat, no surrender. This is Spartan law, and by Spartan law, we will stand and fight and die. A new age has begun, an age of freedom, and all will know the 300 Spartans that gave their last breath to defend it. And again, this is something I feel that's in us all, this valorous action from the 300 men. And this was just that was in some type of journal which he talked about, which I resonate with. A king does not command his men's loyalty through fear nor purchase it with gold. He earns their love by the sweat of his own back and the pains he endures for their sake. And then he just talks about the Persian king buying, fear and buying kind of loyalty. So there's a very interesting connection with Buddha. He was born this is Siddhartha. He was born into a royal family, and its family had the sigil of the lion. And if you go into a lot of his satsangs and his discourses, he often spoke to himself, likened himself to a lion. And there is even a teaching on the lion's roar. And he talks about the lion's roar as this inner realization that is behind his words. And I think there is a deeper transmission here, but I feel I'm not ready to transmit it. But if you contemplate on what he means by there's a teaching or satsang called the lion's roar. And a lot in his scripture and his teachings as well, he talks about the Lion King. So this is going to go a little bit next level, but we're going to go there. So the lost lineage of the Lion Kings. So we have Lord Buddha, who's connected to the lion. Now, King Leonidas, for me, and I've kind of, let's say, connected to other, prophets and oracles, was a reincarnation, or is I don't know, that word doesn't, it's like the soul experience of King Leonidas, and then we have Lord Sananda, who was also Jesus and King David, and then Saint Germain, who was Merlin, Joseph, father to Jesus, and also the one that anointed King David. And then we have Morya, who was King Arthur, and also again he was Melchior at the birth of Jesus. So these three are all from the line of Judea. And these three, Morya, Saint Germain, and Lord Sananda, they all have a very interesting connection, and we're all together in many timelines. So I think that something that came through is this is like, I'll just give a little bit, but now this is like the lost lineage of the Lion Kings, and what this represents for me is the men that were holding a sovereign connection to God, and that was their source of bravery, courage, and that the lion truly represents that divine masculine energy, or the divine father. But at the same time, you can't have that by itself, and we can go into that a little bit later. So imploration, now we've gone on the exploration. So imploration, what does this mean? And for me, as I said, the lion represents the divine masculinity, the ability of the divine father to move through you and creating a sovereign connection to that. But at the same time, in that connection, it naturally brings the feminine qualities to take form. And to love and make peace with the masculine allows it to become dynamic and expressive. Divine masculine consciousness is essential for us to conquer procrastination, hesitation, fear, doubt, and inertia. And I think a lot of these procrastination, hesitation, fear, doubt, and inertia are what a lot of us are experiencing through the patriarchy, because they create the negation of what is being created. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So another discernment from a position of inner spiritual connection to the wisdom of the sacred feminine is that it's always revealing the way. Divine masculine potency with men and women defends the sacred feminine by putting the energy, action, and commitment required to bring her values to life. So I feel this lion energy is not just by itself. It's bringing forth also the balance of the feminine energy within us. And we can't just wield one of it. We have to have the other too. And I think the lion has a deep codex within it that the qualities of the lion will naturally bring forth the feminine qualities. And then we can go into this deeper, is that we have the sacred union. We have the golden lion and we have the white lion. And the white lion is very connected to the feminine principle and the divine mother and other things like that. And there's a lot of also, if you do your research, there's a lot of connection to the divine mother through the white lion. And then this speaks to that union of the opposites, let's say, this journey of sacred union within ourselves, the sun and the moon within ourselves, Shiva and Shakti. It's the lovers, Yeshua and Magdalene. It's deep within us, this kind of union story, and this is where this kind of journey brought me. As I was receiving this is where it brought me, with this potent image of the white lion. And I know we didn't have time today to go into explore the white lion, but I just felt that as being a masculine being in this time around, this is the potency. So there's a beautiful image of a white lion. So relevance during this time. So I just want to talk about this quickly, is the fall of the lion codes. And this is when we went into the military might. And you hear stories of Richard the Lionheart, and it's like you were given the symbol of the lion if you could conquer, like like Alexander the Great, although he had a deep connection. But again, like the lion was stamped upon anyone that had military right. And again, domination, divide and conquer, the loss of valor and nobility, and often to divide and conquer, we had to give away we thought we had to. It was easier to give away our nobility and do treacherous acts to gain power. And that's the other thing. It's like that's the point of also where that connection of that nobility to the heart, then we just go into a full masculine, toxic masculine, and then we just dominate and conquer, and we lose harmony with our inner feminine, and then we're just polarized masculine. So this was the fall of the lion codes, and I feel that moment of nobility and valor for me was one of those important moments in our psyche where that happened. And King Leonidas standing for freedom, standing for truth, standing for nobility is within us all. And then, of course, with that polarized masculine, everything changed, geometry changed, everything changed. We went to in hierarchy. There was no more synarchy. There was no more round table. And then it was the demise of our inner masculine feminine balance. And then when you are polarized one way, all you are is service to self. You need power. How can I further my own accord? So that was the moment of the fall. And like these principles now, I really feel are important in our current time, is the resurrection of the lion codes, the roar of truth, the leading front end, the sword of discernment to move through, a lot of this information put out there these days to know what is true and to follow your own truth. Courage and boldness, doing these brave acts, and as they can't be something planned from the mind, I have to rage spontaneously. and especially conserve your energy, get plenty of rest. I think this is, again, that feminine masculine balance, so important. And then also knowing, we have monarchs and things in here, but we have to remember what is the true royalty, and that's the king inside of us that connects us to the king above, which is also the king above is connected to the queen. So it's like remembering the true royalty, and that's the inner royalty and our connection to. Okay, something's happened here. No, it's fine. And I think this is a very important thing. And this is where a lot of us can get stuck, is we identify with the archetype. And often also we hear stories of, I was a reincarnation of this, I was a reincarnation of that. It's because we're identifying with the archetype. And this is kind of where a lot of New Age spirituality, let's say, gets distorted, because it identifies with the archetype. And I feel like the archetype must move through you, and you can't grasp onto it and say that I am a lion. It's like the lion moves through you. The lion uses your vessel as an expression of it, but you're not the lion. And again, this comes to, I like this quote. This actually comes from Uncle Iroh, and I'll drink a bit of tea for Uncle Iroh if anyone's watched the Avatar, the last Airbender series. Pride is not the opposite of shame. Pride is its source. True humility is the only antidote of shame. And that's a lot with the lion codes. The distortion that can happen is we hold on to pride. And as Uncle Iroh says, if you go deeper, the root of that is shame. And the true shame is that we're shaming the fact that we disconnected from the Godhead. And this is the sort of discernment of Excalibur, highest centers, Venus accountability, form a spiritual safeguard, so that power, which is so easily corruptible, is expressed in a way that increases light by serving Great Spirit rather than our own agendas. And that was the moment as well that we spoke about before, when the fall of the lion codes is when we stopped serving Great Spirit and we served our own causes. And this is a deep code in the Egyptian mythology. They talk about the lion symbolizes or symbolizes a nature no one oh, that's incorrect, I think. It's something that no one can own. So this speaks to, even though that's correct, I have to fix that. But the lion symbolizes the nature that no one cannot own. So no one meaning that there is no one that has identified that they are a lion or they wield that power. And that's the thing. They talk about this in Egyptian mythology too, is the book of Thoth will either turn you crazy or you will receive its truth, because when it will turn you crazy because you're unable to let go of the identification. So this is a really deep thing in our journey. And I think a lot of us, even myself, I can see this within myself as well. When I go into my inner reality, it's clinging onto an identification with something because it wants to be special. It wants to be, but I think this is a very deep level of inner contemplation. But anyway, so the once and future kings in the heart of all men. So this is that line again, the once and future kings, once a king of Nania, always a king of Nania. And I feel that there are men now on this planet that hold the lion code, the lion king code. And I feel there will be a point where that rises. And that's what it means, once and future king. Because once you have had that realization, it spreads through all of your tapestry of past, future, present, everything. And there'll be a beautiful point in the unfoldment where it will, yes. And I feel that we're positioned now, this is my own kind of inner knowings, that the Lion Kings will rise again. And the Lion Kings, which we spoke about, holding the pure archetypes, holding that inner masculine feminine balance, I feel they're here to rise. And there's often that these masters, I would say more Seraphis Bay, Sananda, Germain, Seraphis. Actually, that should be Morya. Anyway, this one on the far right with the blue is Morya. Yeah, these beings I often, let's say, receive messages from for sure, and I'm very connected to this lineage. And I just feel them in my heart as brothers. And I think a lot of this today has come from this type of energy, come from what I've received through them. So I just want to, before we wrap up, I just want to just take a moment, and I think a lot has been shared. We've gone over an hour. And I think we just want to take a moment to kind of just allow anything that wants to come through. So just closing down the eyes. Maybe just do a little shake, shrug of the shoulders. Deep inhale. Exhale through the mouth. Deep inhale. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale, exhale through the mouth. I just want to put our hands, put your left hand first over your heart and your right hand over the top of your heart, and just breathing into the heart. If you can, breathing from your root, so like your belly breathing from deep in your root into your hara or your womb space for female, up into your heart. And while we have our hands in the heart, I just want to call forth the blue flame wielded by Morya, who was King Arthur, calling forth the Excalibur and the blue flame of protection, place of force field of protection over us as we receive this transmission. And of course, I just want to ask for your permission also to go into this transmission as well. You can just say an internal yes or no, and if not, you'll just be you'll be in the field, but your energetic field will not be, it won't pass through that portal because you have your sovereignty over your energetic field. So if you have a yes, you can continue to ride this journey. So Morya, the wielder of Excalibur, protection around us. Calling for Saint Germain, Merlin, Joseph, father of Jesus, Lion of Judea, another Lion of Judea. Come. Just put in a violet flame, energetic field around us, just transmuting anything that is not our highest and greatest good, and also removing from our anything from our energetic field that is not allowing us to rise in our Lion King, in our masculine feminine balance. Just help us with that to the best and most aligned way for every being in this moment of now. And also just working around the heart as well. Anything that is, any energetic things that are able to be moved by the will of God or be transmuted or unlocked or released. Just the power of the violet flame to do so now by thy spoken word and thy command. Just calling forth Seraphis Bay, King Leonidas, the white flame, just come into the field, and the purity of the white flame, just invoking that purity of heart, the nobility of heart. Calling forth Yeshua, Lord Sananda, the flame of resurrection. I am the resurrection and the life. So calling forth any pieces of any being that's receiving this transmission, any being that wishes to resurrect any part of their life, may it be done by thy will, thy word. And if you're listening to this right now, you can just bring forth anything that you wish to be resurrected. And you can even say, I'm the resurrection and the life of my finances. I'm the resurrection and the life of the divinity of my heart. I'm the resurrection and the life of my inner feminine sacred balance. I'm the resurrection and the life of whatever it is. I'm the resurrection of life of my superabundance. I'm the resurrection of life of my overflow. I'm the resurrection of life. Just resurrecting these. I'm the resurrection of the life of my connection to the lineage of the Lion Kings. I'm the resurrection of the life to the connection to the lineage of my inner feminine. Whatever it is, you can use this powerful phrase which Yeshua has given us as the power of the spoken word, something as well that will be returning soon as we open ourselves to magic. And then lastly, just calling forth the Buddha Gautama, who works on the second ray, the ray of illumination, which is today is when this ray is in its most potency. So calling forth the ray of illumination and wisdom to awaken in our heart. May the gold within our heart awaken to our truth as vessels of God. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. So just that golden light within our heart, awaken that blueprint of our true nature within us. And we've spoken about this throughout the presentation about this, even in the Nania quote, that space. But if you read the incarnation properly, before the stillness, before form came into form, this is the golden flame. And this remembrance in our hearts, when we've touched into this space, the once and future King is from this space. Oh. And just calling now for the integration of everything that was shared today to be done with grace and ease. And that's where we call in the feminine counterparts of many of those masters. Mary Magdalene, Lady Nada, Lady Portia, Kuan Yin, just come in and help us, assist us in this recalibration, in this integration of everything that was transmitted today. And just in this as well, just ensuring we're connected to our mother, the Mother Earth. For these frequencies to be truly embodied, we must be connected to our mother. So calling forth Gaia, you can imagine tree roots growing around you and connecting to your feet. Just this deep connection to our mother and the earth. Because the only way we can embody these frequencies here and now is through that connection to our mother. Just calling forth Gaia. And through that connection to Gaia, we can just move a little bit in our physicality, shrug our shoulders. You can move our pelvis, move our womb space, just move our spine a bit. Stretch our back, our shoulders and back to open the heart. Put our hands above our heads and stretch out. And coming full center. The Lion of Judea and I are one. Okay. And when you're ready, and only when you're ready, opening your eyes. Okay. So I just want to give this moment for beings, if they're feeling full, they're feeling exuberant, they're feeling ready to transition. I want to allow this moment for that to happen, because on the next slide, I'm just going to share a little bit about something that's coming through me and something that I'm going to be offering very soon. But I want to allow that time now, if you wish to transition, to do so, because I really want you to transition from a whole space. And if this is your moment of transition too, for you to own that. And that lion's roar said, yes, this is my moment. So I'll give a few more moments for that. But if you want to stay on and listen to my what I'm going to be offering very soon, then please, more than welcome. And yes, you can take this phrase away with you, the Christ line of Judea, and I am one. And this connects us directly. And this was my inner contemplation. The Lion of Judea, when I say that word, I'm connecting straight to those masters that truly are just guiding us and are, let's say, frequency holders. There are certain radio stations that we can attune to if we wish. And from that radio station, it begins to change our cellular structure, it begins to change our DNA structure and awaken the truth of what's written in our DNA. And all of us, I feel and know within my heart, hold the line within us. And whether you want to use that archetype or expression, but it's that power of the divine masculine, but it must come in balance with its counterpart, the divine feminine. And through that, we can truly be conduits of Christed beings on this planet. And now is the time that the popcorn will start popping, and those beings that hold that frequency and are called to hold that frequency will come forth, and they will be the frequency holders and the game changers on this planet. That's what I feel in my heart and what I know. So I just want to share this offering with you all. So this is a sacred one-on-one container, a 4-month container, and it's called the Grail King Rising. And I think the Grail is a whole other presentation, maybe that I'll do at some point. And that for me is the point in history, the imprint of consciousness, where they were the last standing beings, the Grail Kings, that were holding this lion energy, let's say, this divine masculinity. And this one-on-one 4-month sacred immersion is basically going to be a journey through chakra 1 to chakra 4. And each chakra is going to be mapped to an archetype of the masculine archetype. For example, chakra 1, we're going to use the warrior archetype, and we're going to use King Leonidas and the energy of the white flame. And we're going to go on this journey through chakra 1, and we're going to do some EFT tapping sequences to remove what's in the body. Very important to move our emotions as men and go into that sensitivity. So we're going to go through that, and then we're going to there's going to be a lot of content also through the course portal as well, just a lot of things and techniques and things that I've learned through my journey that have really helped me work through these chakra points. And I can't say that all my chakras are fully in balance and alive, but there is a certain energy flow from my chakras that are moving upwards. And I've done a lot of work in the last year and a half on my first 3 chakras, just really anchoring them and allowing them. And this is kind of the culmination of this work now, is to share this medicine with brothers. So there's going to be heaps of material on the online portal. And then for each month, we're going to kick off, obviously, with an intensive kickoff session. We're going to go deep, and we're just going to scan the energetic field. We're going to get a big download on one's journey, where they're at, tune into their chakra flows and everything. And I think that's going to be a powerful Kickstarter. And then each month we're going to do a session together, and it'll be at the end of the month. And basically, as you've been through all the coursework and everything else, the EFT tapping sequences, we're going to finalize this connection. And I wouldn't say that your chakras will be fully opened and overflowing, but they will definitely receive a deeper frequency shift, so that energy continue to rise. And then there's going to be 144 days of WhatsApp support as well. So I'm going to be absolutely accessible. And I think this is a very potent and powerful offering. And I've been downloading this for probably 6 months now, and it's finally come into fruition. And I'm just so inspired to share it with all men that are ready to step into the Grail King or those King codes. And it starts at the foundation, it starts at the core, and we're going to move from that. So, brothers, if you have this at all, you feel this within your being, I ask you to reach out to me, and we can speak about this journey. So that's all for me. It's been a beautiful journey. Thank you so much for being with me. I love you all so much. And absolutely feel free to share any feedback as well, what you received, how it feels within your body. I would love to hear from you. Contact me. You can DM me on Instagram, or just email me below. That should be Gabriel at schoolofmystics.com or modernmystics.com for more info. And yeah, it's been a beautiful journey. So thank you so much. And yes, if the Grail King Rising is calling to you, answer the call. That's all I'll say. Love and blessings, and I wish you a beautiful day, night, afternoon, wherever you are. The Christ Lion of Judah and I are one.